Hey there, buttercups, fantastic friends, and groovy listeners. Welcome back to the captivating world of Eerie Echoes with Miss B. I'm your host, your guide through the realms of the unknown, Miss B. And as always, I'm joined by my partner in paranormal exploration, the enigmatic and ever-curious Diego Paul, who's somewhere around here, I'm sure of it. Today we invite you to join us on a journey into the realm of high strangeness. It's the second episode of our exhilarating podcast about the mysteries that surround all of us. Some more than others, right? Right? But before we embark on this super terrestrial adventure, let me tell you a little bit about our show. We're a small team of weirdos who share a mutual fascination for all things paranormal, extraterrestrial, cryptid, and legendary. We're dedicated to sharing the stories of the secrets that lie beyond the veil of normalcy. What is normal anyway? Okay. So, dear listeners, if you're ready to embrace the unconfirmed, to face the inexplicable, and to laugh in the face of fear, then this show's for you. But wait, before we plunge into the depths of the mysterious, may I implore you to share the love? You see, we're on a mission to gather the most dedicated and curious followers out there. So, if you find yourself captivated by the strange and the unexplained, we implore you to join our growing legion of friends. Add all our social media channels, and of course, hit like or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And for the most dedicated of you, we have merch. Go to our website right now and grab our first official Eerie Echoes with Miss B t-shirts, mugs, and this nifty, adorable wine tumbler. Because Mama needs her hooch. Let your presence be known in the comments section and show the world your love for Eerie Echoes with Miss B. Now, my friends, it's time for the main event. In today's episode, we delve into the captivating world of UFOs. UFO sightings, the enigmatic phenomenon that has sparked countless of theories and debates throughout the ages. And while the truth remains shrouded in mystery, let me share with you, as I'm sure you've already heard, some of the common theories that have emerged over the years.
Extraterrestrial visitors.
What was that? Perhaps the most popular theory is that UFO sightings are evidence of intelligent life form from other planets or galaxies. Proponents of this theory believe that these unidentified flying objects are spacecraft piloted by advanced extraterrestrial civilizations who are either observing us or maybe even making contact. Or how about
secret military technology?
Okay, so this is going to be a thing. Another prevailing theory suggests that UFO sightings are actually the result of top secret military aircraft or experimental technology from either our own government or someone else's. According to this line of thinking, governments around the world may possess advanced aerial vehicles that are far more advanced than what is publicly known. These classified projects could explain the strange and unconventional behavior of some UFO encounters. Some. Then there's
natural phenomena!
Some skeptics argue that many UFO sightings can be attributed to natural phenomena that are misinterpreted or mistaken for otherworldly craft, like atmospheric anomalies such as ball lightning, unusual cloud formations that may create optical illusions or unfamiliar aerial displays like St. Elmo's Spire, lenticular clouds, luminous plasma discharge. Of course, maybe it's
psychological and perceptual factors.
This theory explores the idea that UFO sightings are a product of human psychology and perception. It suggests that witnesses may experience misperceptions, hallucinations, or illusions due to psychological and cognitive factors, leading them to believe that they have seen something extraordinary when, in fact, it has a mundane explanation. Yeah, that could definitely explain Uncle Mikey. You can't forget it could also be
time travelers and interdimensional beings.
That's right. Some enthusiasts propose that UFO sightings could be the result of time travelers or beings from alternate dimensions crossing paths with our reality. According to this theory, these entities possess technology or abilities that allow them to traverse time or move between parallel dimensions, appearing as unidentified objects in our skies. There's even talk that it could literally just be us, but from the future, coming back to see if it's actually true that our hair did get that big in the 80s. Finally,
Hoaxes and misinterpretations.
there it is. There are those that argue that a significant number of UFO sightings are simply hoaxes or misinterpretations of unconventional objects or phenomena. They believe that some individuals intentionally fabricate UFO stories for attention or profit, while others mistake ordinary objects like aircraft, weather balloons, or drones for something more extraordinary. Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a bit of that. These are just a few of the many theories that attempt to explain the perplexing nature of UFO sightings. The truth, however, still eludes us, at least most of us common folk that aren't part of some secret alien society, leaving the door open for speculation and continued exploration into the unknown. These are just a few of the many theories that attempt to explain this perplexing nature of UFO sightings. The truth, however, still eludes us, at least most of us common folk who aren't part of some secret alien society, leaving the door wide open for speculation and continued exploration into the unknown. Anyway, I've always believed that the truth was out there, that we weren't alone. And after putting together this episode for you all, I now am very certain of it. So grab your tinfoil hats, gather around the campfire, and prepare to be transported to the realm where the extraordinary has become the norm. Can you believe it? Hashtag disclosure. Eerie Echoes with Miss B starts now.
Eerie Echoes with Miss B. High Strangeness. On the night of the Eerie Echoes with Miss B launch party at the Crooked Goose in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, I, Diego Paul, producer of this show, had an inexplicable experience. It all happened in a blur, but what was crystal clear is that it was about 3 a.m., I was in rural Pennsylvania and was being aggressively followed by a strange old pickup truck for more than 30 minutes. Oh, and I saw a UFO too. So, we attempted to go to the actual crash site here in Kecksburg, but the road was really dense in forestry and trees and all kinds of stuff. Pretty narrow too, so it didn't really give me the opportunity to turn around. So I had to back up and drive about an eighth of a mile backwards to pull out of the dirt road because I didn't want to continue going forward. In doing so, when I got to the end of the road, there was a car that was, funny enough, trying to turn in to where we were, where the car was, right? So I thought it was trying to pass, so I let it, sat there for a minute, and then I realized, okay, they're clearly trying to come in here. So I backed up into the street and I pulled off. The car just sat there in the distance for, in my rearview mirror, I could see it. It sat there for about 20, 30 seconds, and then it took off full speed in my direction. That was about 15 minutes ago, and there's a bunch of side roads and roads everywhere, all kinds of stuff. And it's still following me. So I think it's a little peculiar, and I'm on my way back to the UFO store in Kecksburg. And if they turn into where I'm going, we're going to miss our shot, sadly, but I'm not going to take a chance. I'm in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, which is famous for a UFO crash that happened on the evening of December 9, 1965. It is said that, similar to Roswell, the first officials to arrive on the scene were clear that there was a UFO that had crash-landed in the woods right outside of this very curious Pennsylvania town. But within hours, government officials arrived and the story immediately became that it was a meteor. Other accounts said it was nothing. But whatever it was, all the townspeople that witnessed the, let's call it, an object, said that the object that crash-landed was in the shape of an acorn, about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, and that it had strange, ancient Egyptian-like hieroglyphic markings. Not to mention the many eyewitness accounts by the townsfolk saying that they saw this craft.
object being taken away on the back of a flatbed truck.
So I just did a quick maneuver. It is definitely following me. Whoever that is, it's in a pickup truck. It's wearing like a bandana or a hat, scruffy. I turned into a side business on a whatever road and very quickly made a U-turn. It did exactly the same thing. Or they, whoever they are, they did exactly the same thing. And so therefore, I am hustling. And he is hustling behind me right now, trying to get back to where we are. I see him back there I went through like a bunch of different twists and turns. And what's going to happen is this. If I don't see him in my rear view mirror by the time I get to where I'm going, which is the UFO store, then we'll be fine. But if he turns up, we're out of here. Very strange.
Ms. B and I knew very clearly that our second episode was going to be about UFOs in Pennsylvania. It happens to be that Pennsylvania usually ranks about number 5 on the list of most UFO/UAP sightings, according to most sources, including the Enigma app that we talked about in the first episode. And so that's why I was in Kecksburg, to shoot some B-roll for this very episode that you're listening to. The UFO phenomenon is very much alive and well in this quietish southern Pennsylvania town about 35 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. It could be said that one of their less quiet moments is a yearly UFO festival that happens in the summer. But December 1965 wasn't the only time that this town's people cumulatively experienced something otherworldly. 73 years prior, in December 1892, Pittsburgh area newspapers reported on an investigation by several men into alleged supernatural phenomena at an old stone farmhouse in Kecksburg. The Pittsburgh Post described how, quote, several of the investigators had been taken out of the bedroom where the demonstrations by the alleged ghost were made in an unconscious condition, close quote. The disturbances began after the farmhouse, owned by William Newell, was being remodeled. The ghost was believed to be David Randler, the farm's former owner, who was forced off the property during the financial panic of 1857 after failing to pay off a small remaining mortgage. Destitute and heartbroken after losing his farm and then his fiancée, Randler swore to haunt anyone who altered the farm. The ghostly incidents included pounding on the bed frame, tearing off of the bed sheets, and the violent ejection of anyone trying to sleep in the haunted room. Too bad the Warrens hadn't been born yet, or this would have made a wonderful addition to the Conjuring family of movies. Now back in 2024, this year's UFO festival was just last weekend, and you know that Ms. B absolutely had to be there, but more on that later. In the early 1900s, reports of unidentified flying objects began to capture public interest. One notable event was the Tunguska explosion of 1908, where a massive blast in Siberia flattened a vast forest area. And while many believed it was caused by a comet or a meteorite, the absence of a clear impact site led some to speculate about extraterrestrial involvement. In 1917, the Miracle of the Sun in Fatima, Portugal, saw thousands witness strange solar activity and a disc-like object in the sky, sparking debate over its divine or extraterrestrial origins. The 1920s and 30s saw a rise in UFO sightings, often described using contemporary technological terms of the time. Quote, airships were frequently reported, likely influenced by advancements in aviation. A significant series of sightings occurred in 1933 over Scandinavia, known as the Scandinavian Ghost Flyers. Despite numerous accounts, these mysterious aircraft were never explained, fueling further speculation about their nature. UFO sightings, though, are not a modern phenomenon. They've been reported since antiquity. In 218 BC, the Roman historian Livy described a phantom ship in the sky over Italy, interpreted as a divine omen. Similarly, the Thule papyrus from ancient Egypt recounts sightings of fiery discs during Pharaoh Thutmose III's reign around 1480 BC, which frightened the population and led to religious rituals to appease the gods.
Ezekiel saw the burning wheel of fire in the sky.
Yes, of course. You can't ignore how many religious stories, like the story of Ezekiel, make mentions of things not quite earthly. The Bhagavad Gita, a 700-verse Hindu scripture, part of the epic Mahabharata, dated to the second half of the first millennium BC, describes very vividly a war in the sky above the clouds, and ancient UFOs called Vimana, which were described as palaces in the sky that would shoot at targets with concentrated shafts of light that would consume wherever they would hit. The philosopher Anaxagoras and historian Plutarch of ancient Greece also recorded unusual aerial phenomena. The indigenous people of the Western world in what is now North and South America have countless stories, handed down generation by generation, about visitors from the stars and beyond. Then there's the Anunnaki and the creation of humans as we know them, and those stories that you probably know pretty well. The Aztecs, Mayans, Inca, Druids, Norse, they all have stories about visitors from other worlds or planes of existence. This has been a hot topic for as long as there have been humans. We have always looked up to the sky with an apparent longing for home. In very recent years, the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena has transformed from a fringe curiosity to a topic of serious government and scientific inquiry. This shift gained momentum in the late 2010s when previously classified U.S. Navy videos were leaked, showing unidentified aerial phenomena with flight characteristics far beyond current human technology. The Pentagon responded by establishing the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force in 2020, followed by a landmark report in June 2021 analyzing 144 UAP sightings by military personnel. This report concluded that most sightings could not be explained by conventional means, emphasizing the need to further study and raising questions about national security and the potential for extraterrestrial life. Adding to the intrigue, several high-profile government whistleblowers have come forward with compelling testimonies about their encounters with UAPs and the government's covert interest in the subject. Lou Elizondo, former head of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, has been particularly vocal, claiming that the U.S. government has been investigating UAPs for decades and that some phenomena may not be of this world. These statements have galvanized both public and scientific communities, prompting calls for greater transparency and rigorous scientific examination. Today, mainstream media, academic institutions, and government agencies are increasingly engaging with the topic, reflecting a growing recognition of the profound implications that understanding UAPs could have for our knowledge of physics, aerospace technology, and the potential existence of extraterrestrial intelligence. As disclosure continues and more whistleblowers emerge, humanity stands on the brink of potentially groundbreaking discoveries about our place in the universe. And so now, in a curious twist of fate, those once considered on the fringes of society are now emerging as key figures in the public discourse on UFOs/UAPs. Names from my childhood like Bob Lazar and Art Bell are popping up all over again, and figures like George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, known for their investigative work into paranormal phenomena, have found themselves sitting alongside military whistleblowers like David Grush at historical congressional hearings. One such pivotal moment occurred on July 26, 2023 in Washington, D.C., exactly 365 days before the airing of this episode, marking a significant turning point in the public's perception and government's acknowledgement of UFOs. These hearings not only underscored the seriousness with which the subject is now taken, but also highlighted the evolving role of independent researchers and journalists in shaping our understanding of UAP/UFO phenomena. Today, disclosure has boosted numbers in the amount of people willing to share their stories. It's also increased people's comfort level in accepting these stories as actual possibilities. There's also been a serious increase in Starlink sightings. There goes Elon, confusing everyone again. There's certainly something rather high-strange about this all. Something's flying around our skies that most of us aren't privy to, and I say most because current data is showing that certain powers that be aren't really being truthful. Why are they withholding? I honestly feel I can't say that it matters much anymore. It's looking kind of clear that we're all going to know about it much sooner than they want us to, at least according to Ross Coulthart, and also Christina Gomez, who hosts one of my favorite podcasts, Strange and Unexplained. Speaking of my UFO sighting on the night of the launch party, stick around, I just might tell you that story. In the meantime, let's catch up with Ms. B on the ground at Kecksburg's UFO Festival. Kecksburg is a curious place, and so are its people.
Hi everybody, it's me, Miss B. This weekend is the Kecksburg UFO Festival in memory of the Kecksburg UFO crash that occurred on December 9th, 1965. Come along and let's see what it's like. Hi everybody, this is Miss B here at the Kecksburg UFO Festival. We made it to the Acorn, which is in honor of the UFO that reportedly crashed in Kecksburg back in 1965. So follow Bryce and I along this weekend while we experience everything that is the festival and talk to some pretty amazing people. We're starting out with our interview with Ron Strobel. You're the one who started the festival,
yeah,
correct?
I'm president. 19 years ago, they appointed me president and chairman of the UFO Festival. Back then it was called Old Fashioned Days Festival.
Okay.
And then it grew into the UFO part of it because that's where we're getting more attendance, and it's a family gathering of all the people in the area, surrounding areas, coming to our festival.
Oh yeah, I was amazed at just how many little kids were around with the UFOs running around, enjoying the music. Yeah. It's been really fun to be here. Now, last night I heard a little story, and I was wondering if it was true. I heard that you were one of the people on site when the UFO came down.
Yeah, I was. Only back then I was not a fireman here. I didn't become... That happened in 1965.
And you were what, 3, maybe?
No. No, I was, at that time, probably 19, 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the wife and I lived in 429 Oakland Avenue, Greensboro.
Okay.
And we heard it on the news and so forth. And it first come in a little town called Wellington, where it went down. Well, I was born and raised in Wellington, which is only about 3 to 4 miles from here.
Okay.
So we come out because we wanted to see what was going on.
Right.
And from Greensburg, we seen a streak in the sky.
Oh, did you? What did that look like?
It looked like a rooster tail.
Okay.
Right across the skyline, okay? Like an orangish glow.
Okay.
Okay, you could tell it wasn't natural, that it was something like an airplane or something had made. So we come out and we went up what's now Meteor Road.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where we seen the military down over the hillside. And if you look at those 2 mountains there, right in the middle of that mountain is where it went down.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So what was everybody's reaction when they were first seeing this?
Well, back then there was no, not everybody was walking around with a camera.
Right.
It just the way it was. So, everybody knew that something happened.
Right.
Something come down because there's been too many people that I've made contact with over the years from all over the country. I've had people from down south, Florida, Montana, Missouri, Texas, Ohio, all over the state coming to me, and they was either there or they had relatives that seen it as well.
Oh, yeah, because it went really across a couple different states before it landed here in Kecksburg, correct?
That's correct.
Michigan being one of them.
Right, and then it turned and it come this way, and that's probably whenever we seen the streak.
Right.
And we come out, and it's only like 15, 20 minutes from Greensburg to here. Mm-hmm. Or when I got here, the military was already here. Oh,
wow. So they had seen it for a while.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Speak with anybody else that was there that day?
There was, people that I knew back then, some of the farmers who were firemen here that I knew, I talked to, and they as well, they knew that something happened, something come down, but, what it was, we don't know to this day. But since then, we started the store 19 years ago, and I keep a log in my store where all the customers come in and they sign it, and time after time again, people come in and say, hey, I seen the streak in the sky. I was up on 31 and I seen the streak in the sky.
Right.
And other people come in, yeah, I seen it. I seen it on a flatbed going out of town. So what it was, what it is, we don't know.
Right. But it did happen, and it gives everybody who's around Kecksburg, even if you're not around Kecksburg, you need to check this festival out, because when we were walking through the store last night, we were talking with the woman who she has the rots, correct? The pictures, the rots. And she said that it was so nice to come here because she had finally found like her people, like the people who want to embrace that there's something different out there and
I have a family that comes, she's been coming ever since we started the festival, 19 years, from Bethel Park.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And she came just as a customer to come in and enjoy the food and stuff. And now she's a crafter. She brings in a craft food for the last 2 or 3 years.
That's awesome.
Craft food. They just love coming here. So that's a good thing. And that's what we want.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ron. We really appreciate you stopping and taking your time, because I know it's busy. I know this is going to be airing after this year's festival, but put it on your calendar. Do you have your dates for next year yet?
Yes. Okay. It'll be July 25, 26, 27.
Okay. 25th through the 27th in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. And if you don't make it to Kecksburg for the festival, stop by, because as Ron said, the UFO store is open. You can stop in and you can get some cool gear for when you're able to come the next time. So thank you guys so much, and thank you, Ron.
And really go to kecksburgvfd.com for our website.
Yes. Thank you. Next, we have acclaimed author and researcher Ray Zeminski, renowned for his groundbreaking work on UFOs and the paranormal. With a distinguished career spanning 39 years as an engineer and scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Zeminski has become a leading figure in extraterrestrial research. His notable book, 50 Shades of Gray's Evidence of Extraterrestrial Visitation to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and Beyond, has garnered critical acclaim. Zeminski has been featured on prominent platforms such as the Science Channel, the Discovery Channel, and many others, further solidifying his reputation. Recognized for his meticulous research and compelling narratives, he continues to captivate audiences with his insightful investigations. He certainly captivated me. I'm sitting here with Ray Zeminski. How did you get started in this field?
I had a mentor in 1973 when I was a co-op student, and he said, I'm going to take you over to the Greasy Spoon, a little coffee shop, and I'm going to buy you a candy bar as a welcoming gift. So I'm a young co-op student from the University of Detroit. And so as we were making our way through this dark hangar, he said, have you heard about our aliens? And I went, what? Aliens? And he told me about this crash in the 1940s. They brought the machine and the occupants to Wright-Patterson for evaluation and exploitation. And that's where it all started. I spent 40 years as a senior scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
And I'm sure you saw lots of things.
Nobody gets to see the aliens. There's a lot of talk about it. But if you can imagine, the Air Force would be the worst hide-and-seekers in the world if they had a 30-year head start of hiding the aliens, and then I got to see it as a lowly co-op student. So no. But the Foreign Technology Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, they were tasked with recovering anything that fell to planet Earth that they thought was worth investigating. So let's take Kecksburg, for example. Right here in 1965, that object zigzagged across North America and wound up not too far from where we're sitting. Well, at the time, nobody really knew what it was, which is interesting because Pittsburgh is ringed at that time by some of the best radars in the world, because Pittsburgh was ringed by Hercules Nike missiles, which were nuclear armed.
Yes.
And that means that object in 1965 on the 9th of December came through all those radars. And they're trying to tell us that not one of those radars picked up anything. Well, when it crashed, the Foreign Technology Division, Project Blue Book, they were notified because they were in the same building. Anything that crashed went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And that's why there's a lot of corroboration, a lot of meat to the story about a crash in 1947 actually being taken back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base commissioned to like do reverse technology on things to try to figure things out that way?
There were many research labs at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. In fact, today, Air Force Research Labs headquarters is there. Formerly, what are now called directorates used to be called laboratories. But in the 70s or 80s, Congress said, Air Force, you have too many laboratories. They said, well, we've got an idea. Let's just change the name to directorates and make it one lab. So there have been so many technologists and so many people with the skills to examine these things. Mm-hmm. So all Foreign Technology Division have to do is say, look, we found this out in the field, boom, and they would call one of the labs, now Air Force Research Labs, and say, hey, we found this. Can you tell us what it is? 1947, that's where the Roswell crash wreckage was taken. And where they would have taken it would have been now called the Materials Directorate, but back then it was called the Materials Laboratory. And it was actually founded in 1917. So by the time Roswell happened in 1947, material specialists had been there for 30 years.
Right.
So of course, Wright-Pat, having that aerospace technology experience, that's exactly where the Roswell crash wreckage went. And that was actually corroborated by the two people who handled it, Jesse Marcel and the colonel who was the head of the 8th Army Air Corps. He was the head of the staff there. They both signed affidavits that said this stuff went to Wright-Patterson.
So Wright-Patterson's kind of been on the ground floor since, quote unquote, day one.
From day one, in fact, from 1947 forward, anything that crashed initially went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, it may have been that we didn't have a particular machine or a particular scientist that could fully evaluate it.
Right.
So they would call that guy in and they would have a clean the contract, or they would take it to a place that maybe had a device, maybe an elemental analysis machine that the Materials Directorate just didn't have.
Right.
And so then they would take it there. But it would always start at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay.
And the story that the Kecksburg device actually went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, I would believe it 100%.
Yeah, because everybody that I've been talking to has said that for Kecksburg being so far away, the military was here within hours and had everything cordoned off and was already on site, and people weren't able to get there. At least that's been what some of the people who've been here for several years has told me. And I spoke with Ron, and he was explaining to me that, not a lot of people saw what was there, but there was a lot of military.
At the time, they had different projects like Moon Dust, where they had individual teams that were trained to recover these things. Because, remember, people were starting to put... First of all, the skies were filled with a lot of unusual objects.
Right.
And then as we got closer to the space race and that sort of thing in the 50s, Soviets were putting things up. We were putting things up.
So there was more things being seen all the time.
Well, there was not only more things being seen that were not ours, but there were more things being seen that were part of the space race. So they developed all of these different units all over the country that could, in within an hour, be on top of a spot. So there wasn't just one recovery team. There were recovery teams scattered all over the country just to get the stuff.
So I see you have several books here.
I have my 3 books, the trilogy. First of all, we have 50 Shades of Grays, which is slyly named after the franchise that is smutty. But this is when I went out to do field research to determine, was there any truth to this?
Right.
Because remember, 1973, Al told me we had aliens and crash craft. So decades later, I went out into the field to find out, and I tried to crush 4 modern cases. Exeter, the Rendlesham Forest, Travis Walton, and Wright-Patterson. And the more I tried to crush those, the more evidence I found. So all that evidence is contained in this book.
Oh, awesome.
So this is kind of my travel log.
Okay.
Then I met a woman who has had a family that has had abduction experiences since she was small.
Oh.
And I interviewed her and her family for over 2 years. Now, this book contains their story, along with many photographs of marks that she has had, like a scoop mark after her first abduction. Many people who get abducted have scoop marks, either on the arms, on the shin.
Like they're scooping out a sample?
Just like a sample with a little spoon.
Oh, wow.
Like if you took a little sugar spoon. She has it. A photograph of that is in here.
Okay.
Many other abductees that I have met afterwards have shown me their scoop marks.
So there's the thought that they're actually studying us is a very valid
It's
thought.
a real sign that they've been abducted. It's not like all these people went out and took a little spoon onto themselves, right?
Right, exactly.
So this is that story.
I like the title of this one, Swamp Gas My Ass.
In 1966, southeastern Michigan was inundated with flying saucers. Now, there was a reporter who was on the police blotter. 4 a.m. he'd get up, he'd call all the different places and say, did anything exciting happen? We're going to put it in the Ann Arbor News.
Okay.
So one morning, the 14th of March, he starts calling around and they're saying, you're not going to believe this. And they've been working with this reporter for years. You're not going to believe this. But we had a guy see 4 flying saucers yesterday. And he said, we got 2 police officers that filed a police report.
Oh, wow.
So then he calls Milan, and Milan goes, yes, we've had 4 flying saucers reported. That morning, several jurisdictions, including detectives, police officers, sheriffs, reported the same thing to this guy.
Oh, my goodness.
So as the weeks went on, they determined that something is amiss here. And there's 2 famous cases, Dexter and Hillsdale, where hundreds of people saw this, including 90 co-eds.
So Hillsdale was part of this.
Hillsdale and Dexter are part of this.
Okay.
Well, I found the pilot who was stationed at Selfridge Air Force Base in 1966. He was scrambled. He intercepted one of the flying saucers.
Okay.
And he and his wingman got it on radar, and they saw it visually, and they chased it for 90 minutes.
Oh.
This is over 30 hours of fused transcripts, 30 hours of interviews that I did with a man who eventually left the Air Force as a full-bird colonel. He had many, many responsible assignments. And Swamp Gas My Ass is his story.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I'm sure people are interested in learning more about you. Where can we find you?
Type in my last name and go on YouTube, and you'll find tons of stuff.
Okay.
My books are actually sold at the National Museum of the United States Air Force.
Yeah.
So if people want autographed copies, they can get autographed copies from the Air Force Museum.
That's awesome.
And
that is amazing.
You can find them on Amazon. Or one thing I would direct people to is there was a 8-episode documentary series on UFOs. It was shown on the Science Channel, Discovery Channel, Travel Channel.
Okay.
And I'm blanking on the name, but if you type in my last name and you type in Science Channel, UFOs, it's a 1-hour documentary that they did on the Swamp Gas story.
Thank you so much for your time, Ray. I really appreciate it. As I walked away from this interview, so many things popped into my thoughts. How is it that we don't just see that the impossibility of us being alone in this universe is profoundly ignorant? The vastness of space and the allure of the uniqueness of our planet, I mean, out of the 8 known planets, ours is the only one with known humanoid life on it. Not to mention the amount of time many other civilizations have had to be way beyond our own technologies. I'd want to visit Earth too, especially since we have ice cream. Speaking of, Ron said we should check out some other stuff. And so we had a lot of fun checking out the bed races and a few of the other attractions, and while it was very festive and family-oriented, you couldn't help but to feel this energy of otherworldliness, like something important and profound had happened here. The more we talked to people, the more definitive that feeling became. Or was it just the entirety of Pennsylvania? Appalachia? Pennsylvania does have quite a bit of activity going on.
Absolutely. Chestnut Ridge, let me tell you, is one of those places that we all refer to as high strangeness.
Right.
Because they literally have it all. They have hauntings. They got numerous types of cryptid sightings and UFOs like we are right here at Kecksburg today. A really famous UFO experience happened here. And a government cover-up, obviously.
Chestnut Ridge, the westernmost ridge of the Alleghenies in Pennsylvania, is known for its high concentration of paranormal activity, earning nicknames like the Twilight Zone of Pennsylvania. A few investigators highlight reports of UFO sightings, cryptids, legends, and haunted locations, including this famous 1965 Kecksburg UFO incident. The ridge's enduring allure to paranormal enthusiasts is captured in Seth Breedlove's documentary Invasion on Chestnut Ridge. And Stan Gordon, a well-seasoned researcher, supports these claims, documenting countless of mysterious encounters and happenings in his many books on the subject. Stan's over 6 decades of experience in investigating unexplained phenomenon in Pennsylvania has made him a bit of a legend globally. His interest in UFOs began in 1959 at the age of 10, and he has since become a leading figure in the field. Mr. Gordon is known for his extensive work on the 1965 Kecksburg UFO incident and also frequently appears in documentaries and television programs, sharing his expertise on UFO sightings and other paranormal activities. Gordon's meticulous research and dedication have made him a respected authority in the study of the unexplained.
Stan Gordon, I met him probably in the 80s. The first time I met him, he came up to me and said, "Do you know anybody who talk about the thing that fell out of the sky at Kecksburg?" And I said, "Stan, I wasn't even born then, but yeah, I did eventually join the fire department here and did talk to a few people. So I do know that what you're seeing is real."
Right.
Yeah, it did happen. I mean, it's not something that was made up.
I'm here with Stan Gordon, and from what everybody has been telling me here at this festival, you were one of the main driving forces to get it to where it's at right now, between your study of Kecksburg and the UFO incident and just your involvement with everything. Tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who might not know who Stan Gordon is.
Well, I've been involved in this for a long time. It's going on 65 years this year.
Oh, wow.
I started this 10 years old in 1959 when I just happened to hear a radio show talking about unusual happenings.
Mm-hmm.
I was 16 when the incident happened near Kecksburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I started documenting. I was breaking on the news that night all around the Pittsburgh area. And I've been out in the field investigating ever since. My whole thing since I was in high school is educating the public the fact that there's some things going on and we just don't have explanations. And that's what I'm still doing, educating people. And my hotline's been open since 1969. It never stops ringing. I mean, it's right through the last few days. I get a lot of email and phone reports all the time now.
Right.
And it's just nonstop. People don't realize this is not something. It's not a new thing, but also it's not something that just rarely happens. It's very, very common anymore because even in recent weeks and months, more and more of these reports are coming in daylight. So we're getting a lot of low-level UFO sightings in daylight, and we're getting Bigfoot encounters 40, 50 feet away from people in daylight. So, I mean, that's going on more and more. What happened here in 1973 in Pennsylvania, luckily I had my first research group. I had scientists, engineers, technicians, police officers, former military people had volunteered their time to investigate, and I was lucky I was already set up. Because 1973 comes around, first we had the biggest UFO outbreak in history anywhere in the country in Pennsylvania. All year long with hundreds of UFO sightings being reported. Many of the newspapers were picking it up. Then in the summer we had the biggest Bigfoot outbreak ever documented. That went on to 74. And that's when some very weird things showed up. I wrote the whole thing about my Silent Invasion book, where UFOs and Bigfoot were seen together. And probably one of the cases, and again, these are long, involved reports, but one was October 25th, 1973, up in Fayette County, outside of Uniontown. I got a call from the state police up there from a trooper to investigate the incident, and he called me and he said, "I just came back, and I think there's something still on the farm. Can you get a team up there as soon as you can?" To make this story short, you had 15 witnesses observed this very large, about 100-foot diameter object low in the sky, about 300 feet or so off the ground. And this thing was slowly coming down. And it finally landed in the pasture. But when it was a sphere in the sky, but when it landed, it was a big white dome-shaped object landed on the ground. And at the same time, there were 2 Bigfoot creatures in the field at the same time. That was one of the weirdest cases. And that's when we began to realize that Bigfoot was much stranger than just an unknown animal.
Right.
And then as weeks and months went by from across the state, more and more very, very strange reports began to come in. which suggested that whatever we're dealing with was not just an unknown animal. For lack of a better term, it had a physical and non-physical component to it, and for lack of a better term, we'll call it interdimensional for right now.
Right.
And that's what's going on more and more now. I wrote about this in the 70s. This is going on more and more, not only in Pennsylvania, but all over the country now. We're getting similar kind of reports. The other thing is that these small orbs or balls of light below the ground.
Right.
Most of them are about the size of a golf ball to a baseball, about 1 or 2 feet in diameter. They're generally spherical, not always bright luminous, but some look really metallic and solid. Most are luminous lights. But for years now, in areas we have a lot of Bigfoot sightings, we're getting reports of these small orbs of light coming out of the woods very close to the researchers or witnesses. And now all over the country, we're hearing these kind of reports.
Okay.
And then we had one spectacular case in 73 when all this stuff was going on, where witnesses up in Beaver County observed a white Bigfoot running across the road carrying a small sphere of light in his hand, and an object came across the sky and projected a beam of light down the woods where it ran into.
Oh.
So there's so much more to this phenomenon than most people realize.
Right.
It is so unusual. One of the first things that turned up in 73, when I had my teams out there, and it's all year round, even in the winter, and we have these big sets of tracks that go for this and then abruptly end, which there's no explanation for that. There was no way that could have been. The Kecksburg Incident is very intriguing. It's a very, very long story. There's no doubt something fell.
Right.
And there's no doubt the military came in very quickly and removed whatever it was. I mean,
and there's no doubt people were told not to talk about it.
Well, certain people told me that.
Yeah.
You've got to realize there were hundreds of people who were involved in this type of thing. But certain people over the years said that they know that their family was visited by mystery men or military personnel at the time. And some of those people were not told to talk about it, but some allegedly they found out later that's what did happen to members of their family.
Okay.
But there were so many people, most people would not have known about these witnesses, because even myself, at the time it happened, there was very few names on the paper. It took me months and years to track down hundreds of people who were involved. And even today, the majority of them never went public. Because they wanted to be kept anonymous.
Right.
Because a lot of them were kids or teenagers, and they grew up to be police officers and educators and all kind of important people, some of them. So they didn't want their names out there for certain reasons. But now a lot of people have gone forward, and many people saw the object in the sky. I interviewed people later on who saw the object come down that afternoon and went down the woods right after it fell and saw it in the woods on the ground. People who saw the military that evening. Many reporters from Pittsburgh came out that evening, and they saw the military who interacted with them. So something happened. It was very important for the government to get here very quickly. I was told they took it out here on a military flatbed tractor trailer truck with a tarp over it. It went to Lockbourne Air Force Base near Columbus, Ohio, then went on to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Where it's at today, we don't know.
The site is not an accessible site. That is a site.
It's on private property.
It's on private property.
Right. And there's nothing to see over the years. Trees are down now.
Right.
Things have changed a lot. There's nothing to see, and you can't go see it anyhow.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that people aren't thinking that they can get in their car and
there's nothing to see.
Yes.
Well, that can maybe start to explain Dee's troubles the night he ventured out to find the Kecksburg UFO crash site. As you'll recall, when he came out this way after our launch party, he was chased by a strange man in a pickup truck for over 30 minutes. Of course, this doesn't explain what he saw in the sky that night, too. You know, that UFO? Or maybe it does. Sightings are becoming increasingly more common. Much, much more common.
There are a lot of sightings going on. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. My hotline's open. If they want to contact me about anything unusual, they can call me confidentially.
How do people get in touch with you, Stan?
Well, then go to my website, which is stangordon.info, stangordon.info. Phone is 724-838-7768. And then my email is on my website as well. So I get many calls and many reports by email and phone all the time.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Stan. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Everybody from Eerie Echoes will appreciate it.
Thanks very much for stopping by.
All right. Thank you, Stan.
Okay, thank you.
So that was legendary UFO cryptid researcher Stan Gordon. Thank you, Stan, for sharing your extensive knowledge and experiences with us today. Can you imagine going from a curious 10-year-old tuning into a radio show about unusual happenings to becoming a leading figure in the field? That's nothing short of extraordinary. Stan's work has brought to light some of the most compelling cases of UFO encrypted encounters, particularly in Pennsylvania. His efforts in the 1970s, especially during the significant outbreaks of paranormal phenomenon, have been instrumental in uncovering the mysteries of these occurrences. His ability to gather and analyze reports, even from reluctant witnesses, has provided invaluable insights into these unexplained events. But it's Stan's dedication to public education and his commitment to investigating these mysterious occurrences that have made him a respected and influential figure in the field. As we conclude, it's evident that Stan Gordon's contributions have significantly shaped our understanding of things that go bump in the night. His relentless pursuit of the truth and his willingness to share his findings with the world have left an indelible mark on the field of paranormal research. We are so grateful for his time today and for his unwavering dedication to uncovering the unknown. Please make sure you visit his website at stangordon.info. And if you have your own experience to share, you can get in touch with him there. And let's not forget our brief chat with Dave Spinks, who enlightened us on his own ongoing research into the paranormal. And I say brief because there was a bit more to our chat than you heard. I think you guys might be seeing where we're going for this next episode. Hint, hint, it rhymes with flip tits. Anyway, let's say goodbye to Dave and hear where we can learn more about what he's doing.
Thank you so much,
You're
Dave.
welcome.
We
Thank
appreciate it. Guys, check Dave out. He's got a lot of stuff coming out. He's got new books coming out, and he's got a new TV show coming out, too.
Yeah, I'm on a new show by Christopher Garantano called A Haunting We Will Go. It's supposed to release this late September, early October.
Oh, perfect. Right in time for the haunting episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can check out my website. It's davespinkspI.com, www.davespinkspI.com. If you want to see all the TV shows I'm on, the movies I'm in, my books, all where I'm appearing next, all that good stuff's on my website. So check it out.
Well, thank you, Dave.
And all my books are available on Amazon as well.
Awesome.
In our rapidly evolving culture, the increased transparency and discourse surrounding UFO occurrences reflect a profound shift in societal consciousness. As once taboo topics like extraterrestrial encounters enter mainstream dialogue, we're witnessing a collective curiosity and openness to reevaluating our understanding of reality. This moment, driven by technological advancements and democratized information, signifies a broader willingness to confront the unknown. As we grapple with these phenomena, the future holds a promise of deeper scientific inquiry, potential revelations about our place in the cosmos, and an expansion of human imagination. What does this mean for humanity to confront the possibility of not being alone in the universe? The integration of UFO discourse into public awareness marks a pivotal step in our journey, challenging us to reconsider our place in the vast expanse of the cosmos and inviting us to embrace the profound mystery of our own existence, leaving us with a sense of wonder and the realization that our understanding is but a small part of a much larger, enigmatic tapestry filled with stardust and possibilities. Hashtag disclosure. And Miss B's t-shirt in this episode is from the amazing band The Big Fat Meanies. Make sure to check out their new song, I'm Not Supposed to Be Here, which drops Friday, July 26th, and you can find it wherever you stream all your music.
You thought I might have forgotten about you, huh? Well, I'm going to share the story of what I saw on the night of the Eerie Echoes launch party after being chased and finally arriving at the Acorn in Kecksburg, which is the monument commemorating the UFO crash that happened in 1965. I was setting up my drone very quickly, and I was getting ready to launch it to be able to take some of the shots that you've seen in this episode. Right when I placed my drone in front of the car at the Acorn, out of the corner of my eye, I saw an amber light zigzagging across the sky. Now, sadly, what you will see doesn't have a lot of foreground on it, so you can't really get the relationship of what's happening, but I'm holding the camera rather steadily with both of my forearms resting on the car and both of my hands holding the camera. So what you will see is a light zigzagging, and what you will also hear is me saying that I don't see it anymore. Well, even though I didn't see it, my camera was still recording it, and I saw it after.
At this point, I was still pretty freaked out, but my co-pilot, was smart enough to turn the camera on and record as I retold the story with a fresh memory.
And then we saw this light bouncing around in the sky. Yeah, it was flying zigzag.
Were you filming on your phone?
I was filming on my phone.
Okay,
yes.
then you might have caught it, because mine did catch it, even though I couldn't see it on my screen.
Yeah. I'll see how much it caught.
If you're listening to this podcast and not watching it on YouTube or another video source, on screen right now is a dancing ember light. At one point, it starts zigzagging across the sky. Now, I didn't get a lot of foreground, as I've stated before, but you definitely can see the light dancing back and forth, and even after I can no longer see it myself, my camera was still capturing it.
My phone isn't getting it either.
Welcome to the news.
Report number 1, Susquehanna Seal, Northumberland County. In the 2000s, outdoor guide Ken Maurer reported sightings of a large submarine-like creature in the Susquehanna River near Northumberland County. Maurer described how the creature created significant waves before disappearing from sight, each encounter ending with the mysterious entity sinking before it could be clearly observed. These reports revived interest in the legend of the Susquehanna Seal, a creature thought to have vanished over a century ago. The legend of the Susquehanna Seal, also known as the Kettle Creek Monster or West Branch Dugong, tells of a marine animal or sea monster with the, quote, bulk of an ox or a hippopotamus, close quote, that swam into the Susquehanna River during a flood. Settling in the area between Lock Haven and Kettle Creek, the creature was notorious for its eerie howling and night thrashing. Whether the Susquehanna Seal is a prehistoric dinosaur, a trapped ocean animal, or simply a myth remains a mystery. Fossils discovered in the area, such as Devonian marine life, Carboniferous plants and amphibians, and Pleistocene mastodon and mammoth remains add a fascinating historical context to the legend, suggesting the region has long been home to diverse and mysterious creatures. Check out pawilds.com for some more fascinating information and history. Report number 2, Raystown Ray, Huntingdon County. Beware Raystown Lake, said a social media post after something pulled a poor golden retriever under the water with force. The fuzzy friend sadly never resurfaced. The alleged culprit, Ray. Raystown Ray, that is, also known as the Loch Ness Monster of Pennsylvania. In 2006, the Huntingdon County Visitors Bureau put out a press release revealing that Raystown Lake has been the site of numerous sightings of a mysterious creature, affectionately known as Raystown Ray, with photos showing large shadowy figures and boaters reporting strange water turbulence. Wildlife biologist Jeff Krause suggests the creature is likely a vegetarian and assures that it poses no threat to swimmers or boaters, while the lake's expansive and deep waters provide ample hiding places for this elusive mascot. Want to create a close encounter for yourself? Check out raystown.org for accommodations and all the happenings around the lake. Report number 3, the Albatwitch, Lancaster County. Lancaster County may find themselves entangled in the mysterious legend of a mini Sasquatch with a penchant for apples. This 4-foot-tall, hairy ape man, known as the Albatwitch, is rumored to inhabit the area around the Susquehanna River near Chickies Rock. The term Albatwitch is believed to be a Pennsylvania Dutch English compound word meaning apple snitch, or as we 21st century folk like to call it, apple thief, due to the creature's notorious habit for pilfering apples from picnic baskets. But do they eat these apples? Sometimes. Other times, they're reported to favor hurling them at unsuspecting passers-by from tree branches. Historical evidence suggests that these evasive beings have roots in local First Nations culture. The Susquehannock people reportedly adorned their war shields with images that resembled the so-called Albatwitch, and the Algonquin told stories of small, hairy hominids, which they referred to as Megamuwisus.
These creatures are thought to live predominantly in trees, often revealing their presence with sounds from breaking branches. For those planning a picnic or hike in the Greenway stretches of York or Lancaster counties, caution is advised. Hold on to your apples or consider alternative snacks, as the Albatwitch legend adds an intriguing layer of folklore to the natural beauty of the Susquehanna River area. Intrigued and want to know more? Visit albatwitchday.com to learn about the yearly festival in Columbia, Pennsylvania, dedicated to this elusive prankster. Report number 4, Bigfoot, Pennsylvania. At around 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on December 1, 2022, a biker had an eerie experience while heading towards Titusville in Oil Creek State Park. Over a mile into their deep hike into the woods, they reached a ravine where they heard loud cracks like thunder from breaking branches or trees. Suddenly, a boulder the size of a basketball was thrown as if it were a pebble. In an unexpected twist, 2 doe deer appeared beside the biker, unafraid and close enough to touch. The deer proceeded to escort the biker out of the woods and back to the bike trail, almost like trained guard dogs. This is one of many accounts related to the enigmatic Bigfoot. The accounts so abundant that in 1998, Steve Anderson and Harry Benton founded the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society, an all-volunteer research and investigation organization. Their website is loaded with information, sightings, and excursion opportunities into the woods for your very own encounter with Bigfoot. Want to learn more and be part of the Bigfoot camping adventure this coming September? Visit pabigfoot.com. Report number 5, Thunderbird, Pennsylvania. May 2021, Westmoreland County, PA. Witnesses reported seeing a large dark bird with a wingspan of about 15 to 20 feet. The bird was observed gliding and occasionally flapping its wings in an unusual manner. April 2021, Montgomery County, PA. A local resident reported an encounter where she saw a large dark bird with an estimated wingspan of 8 to 10 feet. She described the bird as having leathery skin, noting that it glided without flapping its wings. This sighting was corroborated by another individual who had previous encounters with similar large birds in the area. These reports add to the long history of Thunderbird sightings in Pennsylvania, which date back to First Nations legends and have continued to be part of local folklore. Mary Tricoffler, owner of Penelope's gift shop in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, has become a repository of information regarding this cryptic legend. Thunderbird sightings in Pennsylvania are part of a long-standing tradition of mysterious bird-like creature reports. First Nations people, including the Lenape and Iroquois, have long described thunderbirds as powerful, enormous birds associated with storms and thunder, often depicted in their myths and legends. These creatures were believed to bring rain and were seen as omens of significant events. When European colonizers arrived in North America, they documented similar sightings, describing immense birds with wingspans exceeding 10 feet. Throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, there have been periodic reports in Pennsylvania of large, dark birds, often in rural or forested areas, fitting the descriptions of the thunderbirds of First Nations lore. Despite these numerous accounts, no concrete evidence has been found to substantiate the existence of such creatures, leaving them in the realm of folklore and mystery. Want to learn a bit more about Thunderbird? Visit thepennsylvaniarambler.wordpress.com under the Cryptid category. For links and other relevant information about today's news, visit our website and go to this episode's page. Our website is eerieechoesshow.com. And now, back to the vivacious Ms. B.
My sweet little dumplings, thank you for joining us on this episode of Eerie Echoes with Miss B. We hope you enjoyed our stories as much as we enjoyed sharing them with you. If today's escapade captured your interest, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss any more of our shenanigans. We want to hear your thoughts on any eerie, paranormal, or otherworldly experiences, so leave us a review on your preferred podcast platform. And while you're there, remember to rate us. Your feedback means everything to us and in helping us reach more and more listeners like you. Also, follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms at Eerie Echoes Show. Are you a super duper fan? Well, now's the time to get your gear on. Swing on over to our website for our latest and greatest merch, including our first official Eerie Echoes with Miss B t-shirts, mugs, and this very nifty wine tumbler. Mama needs a hooch. For anything else, you can always send us an email at fanmail@Eerie Echoes Show. We'd love to hear from you. Visit our website at eerieechoesshow.com. At the end of every episode, there are some thank yous that we need to put out there. This episode is no different than the other. So Eerie Echoes with Miss B would like to thank the following for all their support in our process and our development of our program. Thank you, Diego, for all your encouragement, support, creative inspiration, and patience with me and my technological lacking of abilities. I would also want to thank Bryce for all your support and help with this project. You're amazing. You're always a wonderful ear to listen to whatever's going on. I love you and I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you. And this episode's t-shirt is from the band The Big Fat Meanies. If you haven't heard them, you need to check them out at bigfatmeanies.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and remember to always keep one eye open. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.
Eerie Echoes with Miss B is a BAM Studios production. Hosted and co-produced by Bridget Callahan, aka Miss B. Narration by Diego Paul. Researched and written by Miss B and Diego Paul for Eerie Echoes. Produced, edited, mixed, and mastered by BAM Studios. Theme song composed and performed by Diego Paul. Distributed by BAM Studios Podcast Network.